I made an update on my blog about what the Associated Press did. So as I pointed out already, what they did was they connected Iraq and 9/11. And they've allowed President Bush and others to get away with making that association before. My last video showed how they did it once again, how the AP wrote an article that associated 9/11 in Iraq, and the way they did it was with the title, U.S. Death Toll in Iraq Exceeds September 11th Count. The point of this update is to show that AP actually made a new article which replaced the old one. That when you click on the link to the old one, it goes to the new one, and it has a more appropriate title, which is U.S. Soldiers' Death Toll Climbs in Iraq. And the new writer of this article points out there has been no direct evidence of links between Saddam's regime and the September 11th attacks. As I'm pointing out, the damage has been done, and the media went with the original article's take. Here is a clip from a local cable channel's report using the AP's info, and they went with the association of 9/11 in Iraq. Here it is.
The White House says President Bush will make sure the sacrifice of men and women in uniform is not made in vain. This comes as the number of Americans killed in Iraq reaches a tragic milestone. There have now been more U.S. soldiers killed in Iraq than there are victims of the September 11th terror attacks.
To report it that way really is journalistic malpractice, and that's one of the main points I want to point out in my videos, how we're really being harmed by mainstream media, what a horrible job they're doing, and how they're really sending us to the brink of disaster. I mean, I want to get the word out, and I'm hoping people could subscribe to my video, and then things could snowball, hopefully, and people could find out what the hell is going on in our country. I'm going to make videos that explain in detail what the Bush administration has done, and what previous administrations have done, what the terrorist threat is really about, how it could be ended simply by changing policies. I'm going to go into detail about terrorism in the past and how a good idea is to look at what the motives are for the terrorism. You take away motive and you remove the threat of terrorism. It's as simple as that. And devious bastards use this tactic of saying, oh, you're justifying terrorism. No, you're not. Just as in 1831, when Nat Turner and his fellow terrorists chopped the heads off of school children, you can condemn that, but that doesn't mean you can't condemn slavery. Condemning slavery doesn't mean you're justifying the beheading of school children. This isn't a complicated point, just as condemning the actions of U.S. foreign policy, mainly supporting Israel, which is murdering children, which is stealing land as we speak. There was a new article in the New York Times about that. And you can see the New York Times slant. It's like Israel's newspaper. Why do I say that? Because the definition of illegal that they have adopted is Israel's definition of illegal. They neglect to tell their readers, often they neglect to tell their readers, that what Israel is doing in the occupied territories is illegal. All the settlements are illegal. But the most recent article I read, and I've seen this before, refers to Israel's definition of illegal, where they decide some settlements are legal and some aren't. It's land theft, and it's racist-based land theft for a racist state, which puts Jews in Israel above non-Jews. That's not an American principle. That's not something that Americans should be putting their lives at risk for. That's one of the main things I want to get across to people, to understand that it's not this threat of being labeled anti-Semitic has silenced too many people and has prevented too many people from looking into the facts. And it's a game that's repeated over and over again. Now, especially after 9/11, this garbage has got to stop, because the main motive for the 9/11 attacks was outrage over U.S. support of Israel. Now, you can look at what does that mean? What is U.S. support of Israel doing? Well, you have to look at the weapons sales and what Israel is doing. And it's murdering children. And I'll go into detail. I'll put a link to a page where I have confessions by Israeli soldiers to Jewish Israeli human rights organizations that document this. I mean, there's people that are denying that this is going on. This is what they're outraged for. I mean, I'll try to include so many facts in upcoming videos, but the hijackers that flew into the World Trade Center, both of them were concerned about the killing that's going on in Palestine. That actually was mentioned in the 9/11 report. It was downplayed, but it's there. Muhammad Atta and his roommate that flew the two planes into the two towers of the World Trade Center. And when someone said, why don't you guys laugh? The guy that flew into the second one that was hit said, how can you laugh when people are dying in Palestine? Maybe I'll stick on the end of this. I mean, that's the main motive. I'll stick on the end. Here's testimony from the 9/11 Commission, and actually this testimony wasn't included in the 9/11 report. And we know why that was done. The two co-chairs of the 9/11 Commission admitted it in their recent book. I'll put a link to that.
Bin Laden had been pressuring KSM for months to advance the attack date. According to KSM, Bin Laden had even asked that the attacks occur as early as mid-2000, after Israeli opposition party leader Ariel Sharon caused an outcry in the Middle East by visiting a sensitive and contested holy site in Jerusalem, sacred to both Muslims and Jews. Although Bin Laden recognized that Atta and the other pilots had only just arrived in the United States to begin their flight training, the al-Qaeda leader wanted to punish the United States for supporting Israel. He allegedly told KSM it would be sufficient simply to down the planes and not hit specific targets.
I'm trying to get so much information out. I'm going to make more videos about this. So please subscribe. Please tell other people to subscribe.